Onko toi sun lasi? Ei oo siinä. Katsotaan, että kaikki lasit on löytäneet omistajat. Tilanne on varmaan hallinnassa. Muistuta Kimmo sit vaan tapahtuman jälkeen, että maksan ne. Muista tapahtuman jälkeen, että maksan ne. All right, dear friends of sauna, welcome to Uusi Sauna, the global launch event for my new book, The Finnish Sauna. It's my pleasure to be here among so apparent friends of sauna. Some of you are here physically, and then we also got some kind of audience in the internet where I'm waving to. So we have a camera here recording this and streaming it to YouTube. And I hope the people on YouTube will also hear me. I think it would be nice if you people online would put some kind of a, well, there's at least one mention from Spain, Terveisiä Espanjasta here. Good. So thank you. So there's global audience for this apparently. So this is actually the day when the book has finally come out. I will have this in the beginning, this kind of 5-minute introduction about how the book came to be, and quite a few acknowledgements about the people who helped on the way, because it's been not that long in terms of book production, approximately 2 years of a journey until how we get here. But actually the story in reality starts approximately 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago, me and my wife, Rika, she's also here today. Thank you for coming. We bought a cabin, kesämötti, which is kind of an integral part of the Finnish lifestyles in the 1950s. We bought a cabin, which, and we have got like, there's about 500,000 cabins around Finland, and I think almost every one of them has a sauna. But the cabin that we bought had actually quite lousy sauna, so it was kind of barely usable. So we got the inspiration that we should definitely get a better sauna and something else as well. So that kind of started a process. So I started designing the very first sauna and also participating in building it out of blocks. And so that was kind of almost exactly 10 years ago since that thing began. Then the sauna got finished in 2016, but I also started at the same time with the sauna construction thing. I started documenting my process. I thought it would be kind of easy in the land of saunas to find out how the good saunas are actually made. Boy, I was wrong. It turns out, although there's been quite a lot of books about sauna and Finnish sauna design and construction put out in the past, over the decades since like, well, I think 1940s, 1950s, but I was still kind of not able to find questions or answers to all the questions that I had as a sauna builder and a designer. So this kind of led me to document my process of figuring out how the Finnish sauna should be designed and what kind of consequences do you have if you do certain decisions. And I did documentation first on the Saunologia website, which is still ongoing process. Then in 2019, I finally published my first book, Hyvien löylyjen salaisuus, which was in Finnish, and basically kind of contained the kind of key information that I had learned about the saunas. Going forward, a couple of years from that, I wanted to do an English edition that as well, although like in 2021, I mean, there's been things already happening globally. I think in the UK, the British Sauna Society had already been formed. In Norway, there was some kind of a movement around sauna. But generally speaking, during the COVID times, sauna was just reaching this kind of global a moment in a way that people started to become, particularly in North America, more and more aware of the sauna. So the timing for my book about the secrets of sauna design, which was kind of an adaptation and translation of the Finnish original, was pretty good. So the secrets of Finnish sauna design so far has sold also over 8,000 copies. It's been kind of steadily finding more and more audience by the year. So it was kind of a success. And now, so one of the kind of feedback, because this sauna design book, The Secrets of Finnish Sauna Design, received very good reviews online. But one of the few complaints that people usually had was that, okay, this is a good book, but how do you actually build the sauna? Well, that because of course I had stated in the back cover of the book that this is not sauna construction manual. This is a design book. But of course, people still expect more. So for several years, I was kind of thinking about the idea of whether I should write a book that actually addresses this particular issue: how the Finnish style saunas are being built. Then, nearly 2 years ago, last day of October in 2023, I then decided to start, and I started working on the first manuscript. I did that over the first kind of winter, approximately 3 months. Then, with the help of a few people who've been, I discovered through the internet, I kind of started. I got feedback about how it should be improved, what would be done differently, and then I kind of let it rest because I didn't have quite clear publishing plan on how the book will be kind of coming out. But then, quite luckily, during the summer 2024, literary agent Elina Albeck was in contact with me, and she said that there's a publisher in UK who's looking for an author to do a book about sauna. And so I kind of got tracked into this kind of world that I was not kind of actually, I had different kind of plans on how to publish the book initially. But once I then ended up making the deal so the book is now coming out from a company, Maclehose Press, which is based in London. It's an imprint of Kirkus. So what I've learned over the years is that there's actually quite a complicated system of how books are internationally being published and sold. So long story short, then we started collaborating with this publisher in the summer 2024, and then I kind of picked up the writing process again in August, and then things sped up last fall. So I spent quite a lot of time working on kind of new manuscripts. So I was initially trying to write a book that would speak solely about sauna construction, but eventually the book actually turned out to contain like one third completely new material, which discusses the Finnish sauna culture, our tradition, some of like the health benefits of the sauna, and also, of course, the history of the sauna. But then, like two-thirds of the book are still devoted to the topic of how modern Finnish saunas are being built, because as I've been also at the same time over the past couple of years, I've been working on to build and not building but designing saunas for people abroad. And one of the things I've discovered, most of the people want to have similar kind of indoor sauna experiences that most modern Finnish houses have. And that was kind of kind of turnaround that the content of the books changed. So now what we have here is this kind of a 320 pages of four-colored things, four-colored pages, and quite a couple of hundreds of photos and illustrations. And of course, I soon learned that there would definitely be room to do at least 500 pages about the sauna. So I had to kind of focus and leave out some of the stuff, for instance, particularly like sauna cabins or this kind of mökki sauna type of things, which I would have liked to include, but it was just impossible because the book would have come. We now even the book was not supposed to be this big when we made the deal, so it had already been enlarged. Anyways, so that was the story of the book. I'm kind of running much longer, but I want to have some few words of thanks for the people who helped to make this happen. First of all, I got some funding from the Finnish Non-Fiction Writers Association and the Finnish Sauna Society. I don't think there's anyone actually representing Sauna Society, but I'm so surprised about that. Hopefully there's someone online. Then, of course, thanks goes to Elina Albeck and her agency for contacting me. There's also a lot of people from Maclehose Press of Kirkus, including originally director John Butler, later John Riley, who were the managing directors. Nowadays, I've been most recently working with Siobhan Peters and Mirta Kalabreshu. Sorry, Mirta, I don't really know how to pronounce your last name, on marketing and promotions. Then, of course, much of the book's content was produced with a copy editor, Katharina Bielenberg. The layout, quite kind of modern touch of the book, is based on James Popple. But a lot of the illustrations were actually put done by a Finnish artist, Laura Lehtonen. I'm not seeing Laura here, but Laura is actually based here in Helsinki. And it was kind of easiest way to work on the Finnish sauna with a Finnish person who actually knows sauna things from prior experience. And of course, there are illustrations from Finnish artist Jarmo Hiltunen and also Juho Lonkila. Juho, Thank you, Juho. So you also contributed drawings. So there's this kind of losses, small example sauna, which is being kind of finalized by Juho. So thank you, Juho, for your part in the book. Then I interviewed quite a lot of people in order to kind of make sure that all the facts and kind of examples about construction are right. So I've involved, for instance, Tommi Ikonen, Tarmo Nousiainen, building people. Then from UK to understand the UK sauna scene, I was interviewing Mika Meskanen, Wendy Liu, Louis Jenkinson through BSS, and Max and Mike Newport from Denmark. Thank you guys. And also Glenn Auerbach, known from Sauna Times. So quite a few other people who I haven't really kind of forgotten partially. But also big thanks to all the peer reviewers. So I had almost like 10 people read bits and pieces of the manuscript over the time. So there's Professor Lasse Viinikka, Heikki Lyytönen, Otto Kruhnqvist, James John, Julian F. She was actually coming here, but apparently she didn't make it. Jacob, Caleb, Nate, Manon Virgil, and Scott Reisenen. Thank you all. Then one part of the content, I have to thank the Sauna from Finland Association. They are basically the world's best, if not the only source for sauna-related photographs. If you need a lot of them, they're the one association that's been gathering Finnish sauna-related promotional material. And I was lucky that Karita Harju provided the permission to use them. Also, a few photos are from Sipoonjoen Perinne Sauna and Sauna Wave. There's a long list. Not quite done yet. For the inspiration, I'd like to thank Mikkel Aland and Risto Elomaa, the old guys in the scene who've been kind of helping along. And of course, my family, Riikka, our kids, and our cat, Luna. She's been spending most of the company for me doing the writing, which is usually quite lonely. But when you have a cat that tends to jump on your keyboard, that kind of keeps you busy when you write. That's it for the launch event. Thank you, Kimmo Helisto from Uusi Sauna, where we are right now, for allowing this to happen. Thank you. And thanks. And now, last but definitely not least, is ladies from Perhen. So I wanted to have this not this kind of alone monologue, which I tend to do otherwise. So I wanted to have a conversation. So for the conversation about my new book, I invited Perhen, which means Perhi. She's not visible here in the stream, but she's here. And Anna, they both work at Perhen, and you can find out from the internet what Perhen is. We're going to talk about the book for the next half an hour. And if there are questions from here, from the audience, or online, please save them and put them online, people on the chat, or people here can raise their hands when the time comes, and we'll have a couple of questions from the audience as well. Oops, I've been talking way too much. Thank you.
Well, it's your day, so don't worry. But let's talk about a little bit more. But first of all, congratulations. It's a big milestone to finish the book. How do you feel?
I think my feeling is kind of both relieved and somewhat kind of, I know that because I've finished similar kind of projects in the past, that you get this kind of very empty feeling afterwards. So now, of course, the book was actually already done about in February or March, so it's been kind of long waiting, about 6 months, almost like a pregnancy, that when does it actually finally appear, now that this kind of, sort of like the suffering is over, but then again, nothing has really happened.
Yeah, like you said, this is not your first book, but what inspired you to write specifically this book?
Yeah, I think most of the things came out when I was kind of trying to recount the story, but I think I really want, because one of the things that when I look abroad outside Finland, one of the things that people are usually missing is really kind of concrete understanding about how modern style Finnish saunas, like here at the Uusi Sauna, there are several modern saunas, how they are being made. And because there's a lot of things that are not really visible from the outside, and kind of literature that has been produced previously here in Finland, it's not really accessible in English. There used to be Rakennustieto, who had their kind of construction book and other instructions, but that's not anymore accessible in English, and they are not interested in doing that anymore. So I thought that someone really has to do it, so why not me?
Exactly. So the people that has read your previous book, how does differ from that?
Yeah, so my previous book was solely about the design. So in the new book, I mean, there's a lot of new information about the Finnish sauna history and culture, but I guess that has been told in some ways in many other books as well. But now I think there's like 200 pages about how you construct the Finnish sauna is actually something that's been not available in English before.
Yeah. So who do you think, who would you like that the people that are reading, who is your primary audience? Is it like the private home builders or also professionals, designers and architects?
I think I've been thinking about mostly about so like a professional or semi-professional builders because I quickly realized that I can't really explain how to hit a nail with a hammer. I have to in the book. I have to kind of concentrate. This isn't like a step-by-step Lego or IKEA type of manual of how to do the sauna building. This focuses on the most crucial part, so it will be most helpful for the people who have basic construction skills and can construct other kinds of stuff, but they now want to kind of try their luck with sauna as well. So I think this is kind of like semi-professional. I mean, people have built their houses themselves as well, so it shouldn't be possible when you have the right information. So not quite beginner level, but you should have some understanding. It's more for builders than for designers. But of course, there are curious people among designers as well who might really want to know how it will be constructed.
So about the experience design that you are specialized in, how do you describe how important is it to design not just the building but the entire experience?
Yeah, I personally believe that in order to succeed, particularly in the saunas where the sauna experience is so quite complicated, it doesn't really kind of fit in just inside the sauna room, which has been kind of a key part in my writings and my thinking. But so the whole experience needs to be kind of considered. Although I'm kind of spending a lot of my kind of effort and thinking about what has to go inside the sauna room. But of course, there are also other things and other aspects to the sauna experience. And I mean, I don't think it's not very kind of complicated matter in the end, but it's matter that there's quite a few things that have to be taken into consideration. So I think I'll be trying to kind of do my writing so that it enables people who don't necessarily understand innately, for instance, what it means to have like a cool, a nice place to relax between the sauna sessions and so forth, to understand their importance as well, in addition to the things that go on inside the sauna.
What do you think are the most important elements? Like you said, that it's not about just the building, but if you can just point few of these important elements that makes the sauna space design to be a successful sauna experience.
Yeah, so also in the new book, I've included kind of a summary of my basic sauna design principles that have been coming up in the previous books as well. So there's talk about like sauna heating is one of the things. I have like broadly speaking like three main categories. So there's one is sauna heating, second is the air quality, and the third one is this kind of interior design, which also kind of includes different kind of ergonomics of the sauna. So how does it kind of feel to be seated there? How does it feel get on the sauna benches? So I think those are the kind of like broad three categories of thinking that I try to kind of manage in my own work when we advise sauna designers and builders. And it's kind of interesting kind of play in a way that all of these three things you can do different decisions regarding design, and they will kind of influence one another. So it requires, it's a little bit like I used to use metaphor of chess or this kind of a game where you go kind of back and forth. If you do one decision, then there you have to make another decision here. And little by little, you can kind of find out, you know, kind of where you're going. What is your kind of goal in the sound design? You can kind of navigate to your end goal.
Great. So I think there's a lot of people now listening also in the stream. So we're gonna also have questions afterwards. So now you can already start to think what you want to ask from Lassi. Also the audience here, you have a possibility to ask something from Lassi after our talk. And it's important that we talk about the experience a lot, because the sauna building itself, it's not just making the experience. And what kind of change or new thinking do you think you hope this book could bring to the global sauna culture itself?
Well, at least now with this book, I think people, particularly in the US and also other emerging areas, well, like Norway and UK, I hope this book will become kind of a reference for people to understand what it takes to create a sauna that's actually durable and safe in the long run. Because if I've been following for several years like forums like Reddit, Sauna, or different Facebook groups, where you can see kind of examples of, I'd say, imaginative sauna construction, which is sometimes it might be dangerous, sometimes it might be just stupid. But I think you have to kind of understand that if people try to kind of reinvent the wheel, so I'm hoping to provide at least some good examples. In this book, I realized that I can't really give all examples of how, for instance, you do the sauna floor or how do you build the sauna benches, because there are so many different variations of how you can do each of these details. But at least I will provide people around the world now access to at least one tested and tried solution that they can use wherever they're building their sauna, so that they can trust that this will actually, for instance, hold human body weight or not to rot in next 1 year or so forth, to kind of enable this type of thing that's and kind of know-how that we have here in Finland. Because I think in Finland it's probably very difficult to find any builder who hasn't built at least 10 or more saunas in their lives. And kind of there's some kind of a craft. I mean, not all the Finnish saunas are perfect, but I think we still have quite a good knowledge about how you should at least do the basic things. And that doesn't really exist outside Finland in a similar way.
Mm. Well, how do you think that the Finnish sauna can be introduced to the world in the way that the perceives its essence and authenticity?
Well, that's quite a good question. I think partly with some of my, so I've been doing this kind of a consulting and design consulting work for several years, but mostly with like North American people. And particularly when we're dealing with like public sauna locations, the questions about the more kind of cultural aspects of sauna tend to come up. And I think it's kind of clear that here in Finland, we have our own type of sauna culture. In the book, I've written kind of my own version of the Finnish history of the sauna, which goes, I think it's called like the 4 generations of Finnish sauna. And I think one of the important part about the Finnish sauna culture, as we now here know it, is that most of us here have been born into this kind of era of private saunas, which means that we've been grown up to have our own home sauna, whether it's like a private home sauna or like a shared round of sauna used in the housing company sauna facility, but it's kind of still private. Whereas because the decline here, we have like a very strong public sauna culture, which Kimmo here is very well aware of, and then it kind of started declining. So I think still in like about like 20 years ago, we had here in Helsinki, for instance, I think did we have Kimmo 3 or 4 public sauna? Three. So now we have quite a few more, and particularly, especially like outside Helsinki here in Finland, the number of public saunas has grown much more rapidly even than here. But this means that all people who've kind of grown up in the previous millennium, we've been kind of a private sauna people for most of our lives. And now, so I think this shows up now that people are in Finland, we have more public saunas, and so people have much more kind of encounters in public sauna. But I think our behavioral models, how we behave private public saunas, is more kind of it comes from our experiences in the private world, which is sometimes it kind of causes problems because we don't have similar kind of code, which is the reason why I don't really think that the kind of present Finnish sauna culture is not necessarily the kind of best role model. But it has kind of certain elements, like in the book I'm talking about this kind of Finnish principle of sauna democracy or sauna anarchy, which I think is something that should be kind of appreciated, because I think one of the good things about the Finnish sauna is kind of liberty to enjoy sauna as we like it. In comparison, for instance, in Germany. In Germany, they have this kind of a sauna meister tradition in which regular sauna users are not really allowed, particularly in public places, to put any load or steam, which I think most Finnish people find ridiculous. Why is that? I think there are kind of good elements about the Finnish sauna that we should introduce to people outside Finland, but we have to be. I don't think. because now we can see internationally that there are clearly new kind of patterns of sauna use emerging, particularly when it has to do with, because there's been kind of movement, particularly from North America, where people are taking this kind of sauna and cold plunge called contrast therapy very seriously. I think I'm actually kind of mentioning in the book as well that I hope that people wouldn't take it so kind of seriously, in a way that even though I do agree with kind of idea that you should be able, or the doctor should be able to subscribe like sauna as kind of a therapy for people, because I think sauna does have different kind of health benefits, which are kind of clear, both mental health and physical health benefits. But then again, I think the mentality, like I was just recently, we were working with Antti is also one of the people here in the audience who I've been working with, and one of the architects I had the pleasure to work with. We had this kind of elderly gentleman who said that he's now building a sauna for his new home because his son has been advising him that he has to do this like 20 minutes of sauna and then you go to 5 minutes of cold plunge afterwards. And then I was trying to explain him that, okay, you could do that, but it's not necessarily the kind of way to really enjoy sauna. So I think one of the important properties of the Finnish sauna culture is that we kind of can enjoy the sauna at our own pace. We don't really kind of think about the sauna as an exercise that we need to kind of do, like running a treadmill for 15 minutes. It's something like different. We do it for the purpose that we actually get immediate satisfaction of being in the sauna. The idea is not that we kind of live 10 years longer when we do the 30 minutes of sauna, 5 minutes of cold plunge every day. So referring particularly to this Joe Rogan guy, who's been kind of very big influencer, kind of promoted sauna, but I don't think the kind of model that he's been providing about how the sauna should be used, so that you actually go into the sauna, stay 30 minutes, and it's supposed to feel bad. I think that's kind of at odds with what kind of sauna culture I would like to promote, and see that what is the kind of model of the Finnish sauna abroad.
Thanks. So you mentioned that you also do consulting, so you are not just an author. So what kind of like collaborations you are open to, and what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, I think I hope that I'm relatively easy to reach over the internet. So I've been both through Saunology, and then this year in March, I announced or released a new website called the finishsaunadesign.com, which basically I am trying to make these Finnish sauna design services more easily accessible, particularly for the North American people. I was actually quite surprised when I first started that if I actually put this kind of sauna design package where you can buy the sauna design from Finland, available for sale, which is a couple of thousands of dollars, someone would actually go there and buy it. Because this would never happen in Finland. Because in Finland, I think most of the people think that sauna should basically come for free, at least for very minimal additional cost. But I think people, so that's kind of been opening up new venues, thinking. So I think at least people have been very successful of finding me out, even though I haven't really been doing that much marketing over the years. So I don't think that's going to be a problem in the future either.
Exactly. So now you have a little bit time to puff your book, where people can buy it.
Oh yeah, so the book is, I've been over the past 24 hours receiving a few reports about where the book can be found. Here, if you're here in Uusi Sauna, you're in luck because there are a few books available here still. If you're here in Helsinki, I think after this event there might be a few books at Uusi Sauna. There's also going to be something at Akateeminen. And in Finland, we can get this from regular kind of bookstores, the Suomalainen Kirjakauppa and Akateeminen bookstore. If you're in UK, I think there are actually quite a few different outlets where you can find the book. Shouldn't be difficult to find. It's available in most Amazon stores. In some places like Norway, it's apparently a little complicated to get it there. But just reach out if you don't find it in your kind of normal outlets, because this is kind of big publisher. So that I hope that this will help, that the book will be kind of easier to get in touch with, and not only through kind of Amazon, but also other big book outlets around the world.
Yeah, and today, like Lassi said, that now we have a special promotion for the book, and you get also the signature for the author. So now it's your special chance. Thank you, Lassi. It has been a pleasure to talk about your book. It's really interesting. I already got my first scratch into it a little bit earlier than other ones. It's very excited, and what I'm especially excited, it's just not about how to build a sauna, but also a little bit about the sauna culture behind it, and especially it warms my heart that it also has this experience design on behind it. Now we have a little bit time for the questions and what comes to the chat in the live chat. There's not specifically any questions, but there is greetings from Spain. So Alberto has sent you greetings and also thanks for the help. So he's been most likely reading your previous books or having consulting help from your side. So yeah, thanks.
So maybe we can ask if there are any questions here among the audience who's physically present, or comments.
Yeah, you can also ask in Finnish. Anyone?
Just one. Where can I pay for this?
It's a good question. Where he can pay for it?
Cards or cash?
Cash or mobile pay, that's fine. Or invoicing is also possible.
What is your take on the lighting in the sauna in a sense? Because this
So-
new modern sauna seems to be quite big windows. Yeah, my question is that what is your take on the lighting in the sauna? Because nowadays modern sauna seems to have this kind of a trend of big windows, used outside, but if you maybe look into the other aspect of sauna is turning inside to actually settle down with your own self. It's kind of a maybe better promoted in places with less light and less view to the outward. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think that's a good question and a good observation also on how. Let's start from this kind of distant approach. So first of all, I think here in Finland, we particularly when I was saying like making jokes about do Finnish people care about the sauna? Do they want to invest in sauna? So I think here in Finland, people have a tendency to love this what I call Instagram sauna or Instagrammable saunas, which look very good in photos, and they usually have like huge windows because it makes things look kind of spacious and very light and so forth. Of course, I think the presence of light is important element just for the sake of safety. But then again, I think how much light you actually want to have in the sauna, I think that's definitely is part of the experience in a way that I don't think no one wants to have this kind of surgery room kind of experience where you can like have extremely high levels of lighting. Even well, if it's like direct sunlight, sometimes it might be nice, but I think most of people do kind of appreciate more this type of smoke sauna interior where it's kind of relatively dim. Although the smoke sauna is probably quite extreme because I think some of the smoke saunas tend to be even too dark, so you kind of bump into other people, which is not that fun. But other than that, I think it's good that if you can kind of control the lights. So when we do designs for like sauna cabins, I usually don't really recommend using these huge windows. Well, for several reasons, but one of them that I do recommend having some kind of a small window, so you get some kind of a connection with the outside world in kind of various ways. Particularly having some kind of natural light, I think it's kind of important element, but you should kind of keep it in check. And I think, of course, there are also kind of a lot of look at funny looking lighting systems available for saunas. And I think that's a little like matter of taste. That can you kind of keep the sauna lighting without like so it doesn't look more like a disco or a nightclub rather than a sauna. I think it's kind of important when you kind of stage the experience. So I also kind of personally enjoy a little bit more like dimmer experience. Good question, thank you.
I'd just like to follow up on that. Last sauna I built for myself. was a bit limited space, but I did put in a reasonably big window, basically a window door, but it's a 1 meter wide window. But the thing is that also the experience with you have the window, you can actually choose your lighting experience. So if I want to see the nice view I have down the bay with the view to the trees and the forest and the bay and the water, I can go in have a sauna late in the afternoon. I see the beautiful light. If I want to have that inner experience, like I had a couple of nights ago, I went at 12 o'clock in the night. Okay, it was a sunny, well, a clear night, so there was some stars disturbing, but still you can get that inner feeling as well. But I think you can actually, with Windows, you can play both roles a little bit if you think about when you use it. And for me, what is actually the best for the indoor lights is something very sort of suppressed, maybe from underneath the benches, which just gives you that little bit of feeling. But you can play with both, and then of course with a nice wood stove, you get the light from the stove as well.
Yeah, that's kind of a luxury, particularly outside Finland, so like a wood burning heater. I think one of the good things here is that as we in like past 20 years, most of the sauna lighting systems have evolved. So most of the modern saunas have LED lights, and the LED lights have several benefits. But I think the biggest thing is really that you can control the LED lights quite well. I mean, the quality of light might be sometimes an issue, but at least you can usually dim it down so that you can achieve kind of an environment that's controlled and particularly not too bright, maybe even kind of a nice warm tone rather than being very kind of cold. So it kind of supports the kind of nice experience in the sauna. Good, thank you for a good comment.
Yeah, hello. To follow up on that question, I really like that having different type of saunas, sometimes going outside, sometimes having more cozy with the lighting. And my question to you, Lassi, is that would you try to go for a sauna where you can have different kind of experiences, starting from the temperature, lighting, overall mood, or would you want to build a sauna that always delivers the same feeling, same experience?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. How what I've written in the book is that I think first of all, for the people who are kind of new to sauna, I think it's important to kind of consider that when you get if you don't have much experience about saunas in advance, but which happens outside Finland quite often, I think it's good that with a private sauna you can kind of find your own good way to sauna, which basically means that with a private sauna you can control environment that you have, at least to a certain degree. I mean, I think most of the saunas have certain kind of reusable range of temperatures and humidities that you can achieve inside the sauna. But then again, I think there are kind of limits. So in our design work, working with private customers particularly, we usually try to understand that what kind of expectations people have for sauna. Well, I mean, this outside Finland, people don't necessarily have much experiences from the past, but here in Finland, people can usually probably tell already in advance, for instance, what is their kind of favorite temperature for sauna, whether they want to have more like a high temperature and less lulu, or the other way around. But I think it does. I think there within each and every sauna, I think you should be able to kind of design it so that there's kind of room to have a certain variation. But then again, I think for sauna experience, when we go particularly like public sauna settings where there might be like multiple saunas, I think in those occasions, I think it's more important that you can offer different kind of options for people that have like different temperatures. Like we've been working with a few public saunas abroad. There's been in several cases we've started that there's been one huge sauna for maybe like 40 or 50 people. And the first thing that we usually say is that, okay, this looks nice, but maybe we'll split it up into two saunas instead. Because if we have two saunas, we can, for instance, have slightly different conditions in these saunas, which might be appealing to different customers who are not kind of, for instance, not everyone might be comfortable having like 90-degree sauna, which is kind of very typical starting point in many conversations. So in a way that I think it's important in the public sauna setting to offer variations in the experience. And in the in the private setting, to have a sauna that you can control and get try out different kind of configurations, whether you like to have it 95 degrees Celsius or 65 degrees Celsius. Good question, thank you, Pettu.
Somebody's foot is on the cable. Sorry, I'm coming back to the light. I just had a completely stupid thought here in my head. I once went to wine tasting. The wine tasting was in a white room, and you offered a red wine. And then they changed the color of the room, and the wine tasted differently, which was quite amazing, actually. And I was wondering, have you ever tried to sort of work? You mentioned the LED lights. Have you tried out different colors, different shades? We all know you have different whites, but maybe a bit of red in or something else. And would that sort of impact your feeling? Have you ever tried that?
Not really in this kind of a maybe like experimental way. Not truly. I think it's I think one of the things is that, as I was saying, we've seen that even Finnish companies have been producing, for instance, kind of northern lights experience inside the sauna. And I think usually Finnish people have been accustomed to quite a distinct set of how things usually are in the sauna. And then when you go kind of beyond those limits that people are kind of gotten accustomed to, you usually kind of weird feeling that whether this is sauna at all. But I mean, I think you could probably achieve something even with smaller variations. But usually, the first impression if you do experiments is probably that there's something wrong with this sauna. But I'm just saying that it might be a good idea to know. I don't think anyone has been kind of pushing that direction very hard. Because of course, there's like one example that I want to kind of point out, which I hope might be an important contribution in the book. There's a chapter which is called saunas and non-saunas. I couldn't find any better word to describe the things that are not sauna, but one of the things that falls into that category is infrared cabins. So the infrared technology is one of the things, particularly in North America, that has taken over, like commercially, the kind of most popular sauna is actually the infrared solutions. Because they're kind of easy to sell, they are not so expensive, they can be retrofitted almost anywhere because they don't use, well, they can use much energy, but they're still kind of more easy. And of course, they have this kind of a red light, not in all applications, but many of them do. And I mean, it's not integral, but I think it's important to notice that this, the sauna itself doesn't have any kind of light. So whenever we do this kind of association, I think one of the things we have to kind of avoid is that not to kind of do necessarily, particularly with this infrared thing. I'm trying to kind of personally stay away from it as far as possible.
So we have still a little bit time for one question, maybe. Yeah.
Hi, Lassi. So to continue on the wine thing, I like in the book how you compared wood burning and smoke saunas to sparkling wine and champagne. Could you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, I actually already forgot to comment on that on the previous question. So I think we do have like a bit of a shortage of good vocabulary in terms of describing our different sauna experiences. So I think in the world of sauna, it would do kind of good exercise to develop this type of, I mean, in the world of whiskeys and wines, there are different kind of instruments like, I think it's whiskey wheel and other instruments which help to describe the experience in kind of consistent terms. We don't really have that even here in Finland. We don't have those words. It doesn't get much better in other languages either. But I think so. Coming back to this smoke sauna and champagne thing. So I think the smoke sauna here in Finland has quite a distinct reputation. I think what allows this kind of warrants this comparison is the fact that smoke sauna is kind of rarity. For several reasons. I mean, it's now, well, here in the Greater Helsinki region, we have exactly one public location at Uusi Sauna, where they have now 5 or at least 4 operational smoke saunas. But it means that it's exclusive, not necessarily kind of exclusive in a way that's more expensive, but it's harder to get by. And of course, it also has different experiential qualities. I think here is where the kind of the analogy kind of starts to fall out of place. But I think what I think is the similarities. There's clearly something more. There are more like elements in the smoke sauna. They are not necessarily better, but it's distinctive. And I think because it has also the kind of process of the sauna heating, the fact that smoke sauna, whereas kind of all other types of saunas tend to be more or less the same every time they're being built or kind of warmed up. But every time the smoke sauna is being heated, it depends on the kind of firewood, the person who's heating it, and all kind of environmental conditions, how the sauna will turn out. It's not the same every day. So I think that's kind of interesting flavor that kind of spices up the smoke sauna concept.
With champagne, you'd say complexity. So with smoke saunas, they're more complex, I guess.
Yeah, I think you could say that. Excellent question. I think, what do you think, Anna? Should we go to sauna next?
I think so, yes. I think people are waiting for that as well. And also to get your book signed, so.
Yeah, so for all the people who are here, you're lucky because you can go to sauna, you can get the book. Thank you, Anna, for coming here. It's been a pleasure to have this chat. And thanks for all the people. So we've had at times more than 10 people online, which was kind of at least what I kind of expected. So thanks for the people who were online watching this. And please report back for wherever you are if you found my book useful in the future. Now it's available and we'll wait and see what happens. I actually have one like small announcement about like the future. I currently don't know if I'm going to be making any more sauna books. But what I will be making is that in early December, I'm going to do this kind of online event called Sauna Innovation Conference. And that's going to be quite interesting, like a event that happens in one evening, Tuesday, 9th of December. It's free of charge to attend. You can get tickets online starting from Monday on the saunainnovationconference.com website, and we'll see what comes out of that. But it's kind of in terms of this Saunologia business that I'm still running, I'm trying to kind of find ways to promote and distribution of sauna-related information, and this is kind of another step in that direction. But for now, let's kind of celebrate the book as it's now out, and I hope you enjoyed and have a nice evening wherever you are, especially if you are here in Uusi Sauna. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.